from certain perspective, it looks as if there is a bubble around cybersecurity globally and definitely in Israel. But I fully agree with you that the need for advanced cybersecurity is here to stay and definitely is going to intensify.
Welcome to 20-Minute Leaders. Just sit back, relax, and learn from the leaders of today. It's a journey. Each one is different, unique, inspiring. Let's get started. This episode is powered by Ventures, a community-driven VC fund in Silicon Valley in partnership with Leumi Tech and sponsored by Hippo Insurance, Turing, Upwest Labs, and Hillel at Stanford. If you're into cyber, you're gonna love this one. Meet Nathan Shuchami, a managing partner at Hyperwise Ventures, an Israeli venture capital that leads seed investments in the cybersecurity and enterprise software domains. He co-founded and led as a CEO Sentrigo Inc, acquired by McAfee, where he became VP Database Security. Nathan later co-founded Hyperwise Security, acquired by Checkpoint Software Technologies, where he became VP of Emerging Products.
Nathan Shuchami, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Michael. Everything is well. Hopefully it's the same with you. Excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here, an expert in cybersecurity, both as an entrepreneur, but also as a venture capital investor. So you've seen both ends, and obviously, from the Startup Nation and the world of cybersecurity, we're just seeing the industry boom more and more. And while I've had some interesting discussions with fellow friends and researchers about maybe this is just one big bubble that is going to burst, I really don't think it will, and I think that we're in it for the long run. The more the technology advances, the more we're going to have this cat and mouse game, which obviously keeps it interesting, given that we're the sort of the cat and the red team is the mouse. And so what I'm really excited to talk to you about is your expertise in the world of cybersecurity, your entrepreneurial journey, your investment thesis, but also, the way that now you see the industry from the side, and what have been your observations over years of experience in watching hundreds, if not thousands, of young entrepreneurs go through that. So Nathan, get us started. Tell me a little bit about who you are and a little bit about your journey.
Indeed, throughout my professional career, I had multiple experiences. So I definitely consider myself to be blessed from that perspective. I started my professional career like many others, especially in the Israeli high-tech and cybersecurity industry, by serving almost 11 years with 8200, fulfilling multiple roles, having a very exciting career there. Then for a short period of time, I was seriously considering developing a legal career. So I was, even though I was very technical, even though I was very technical in my background, I was seriously considering studying math. And even up until today, this is definitely a soaring point. But nevertheless, I chose to study laws. I had a first and second degree in commercial law from the Tel Aviv University. I did my internship in Jacob Weinroth law firm, and then in the Israeli Supreme Court. I was even teaching contracts in the Tel Aviv University for 3 years. But then I was lucky and I got a proposal from a guy that used to serve with me with the 8200 that in the early 90s has established a startup, and he gave me a proposal that I couldn't refuse. And in the mid 90s, I decided to join a startup by the name of Enigma, which was not a cybersecurity startup despite the name. And I worked for Enigma for 9.5 years, primarily as a sales manager, as a VP sales, living for 4 years in Boston, and then moving to Europe and becoming VP Sales Europe for 4 years out of Munich. But then in 2006, I met a brilliant technical entrepreneur by the name of Slavik Markovic, who later became the CEO of the Misto. And together we have established a cybersecurity startup by the name of Sentrigo, focusing on database security. We moved to the Bay Area in 2008. We crossed the horrible crisis of the subprime crisis, the meltdown in 2008, literally 3 months after we've both relocated to the Bay Area. Tough times.
I have to say,
But then
Nathan, the funny anecdote is that Slavik was actually guest number 11 on this show. He is a very, very good friend, and I met him quite a few times at Palo Alto Network offices. And he was, and in our episode, he talked exactly about what you're saying about relocating to California at 2008 crisis. But please go on.
Yeah, Slavik is an amazing, brilliant entrepreneur. And we managed to persevere, by the way. It was very difficult, I can tell you, many sleepless nights. And in early 2011, we got acquired by McAfee, and we became the database security solution of McAfee. Right. I worked for McAfee as an executive for a few years. After 4 years in the Bay Area, I relocated back with my family to Israel. Departed from McAfee, and in late 2013, the beginning of 2014, I met my current two partners. Both of them are young, very ambitious, skillful guys from 8200, from the Aram program. Mm-hmm. And once they finished their military service, they invented an amazing technology for identifying evasive attacks, next generation sandbox, harnessing new capabilities of the Intel CPU framework. And we established in early 2014 a cybersecurity startup by the name of Hyperwise Security. And a year later, we got acquired by Checkpoint. And from 2015 until 2019, the three of us have worked for Checkpoint. I was the VP of Emerging Products for Checkpoint, reporting to the president of Checkpoint. I managed a team of about 200 sales reps and sales engineers. And I was focusing on the advanced security solutions of Checkpoint, namely cloud security, mobile security, endpoint security, and advanced threat prevention. The next generation sandbox of Checkpoint by the name, a family of products by the name of Sandblast. A target of about $300 million a year.
Wow.
Did very well. And by the end of 2019, the three of us, we decided to depart and to establish a proper venture capital. 6 months, we dedicated 6 months to raise funds for Hyperwise Ventures. And in the end of February 2020, so almost a year ago, we launched the fund. It's a $70 million fund. Focusing on early stage seed investments. We want to lead the seed rounds. And since then, we made 5 investments, and we are very active, looking for brilliant entrepreneurs to partner with them to establish amazing startups. Focus is cybersecurity, but also enterprise software. So obviously, we have a very strong background in cybersecurity. Mm-hmm. But we are not limiting ourselves to only cybersecurity. We do proper enterprise software as well. So a very diverse career spanning more than 25 years. And again, I consider myself to be very lucky from that perspective.
So Nathan, even before we do a deeper dive into these different experiences and currently what you're doing with Hyperwise VC, tell me a little bit about the cybersecurity market in general, or the industry. And it's a uniquely different, I think, than a lot of other industries. It's something that is obviously very special to us here in Israel and with the background that we come with. But tell me a little bit about how you see the cybersecurity world, both from the entrepreneur's perspective of an early stage company realizing that there's this gap, there's technological gap and opportunity, to going and creating these companies that are acquired by by fantastic companies like Checkpoint and McAfee, but also from the investor's perspective, understanding, okay, how does the world actually look, from a bird's eye view on cybersecurity, and where are we headed with it?
It's a very good and important question, because indeed from the outside, and you were very right in your opening words, saying that from certain perspective, it looks as if there is a bubble around cybersecurity globally and definitely in Israel. But I fully agree with you that the need for advanced cybersecurity is here to stay and definitely is going to intensify. The cat and mouse race that you were describing, but it's important to stress out that the core capabilities around offensive cyber, I mean, the bad guys, the red teams, in the last 15 years is financed by governments. Offensive cyber is definitely considered as a strategic arm today for nations because of its amazing effectiveness compared to other alternatives. So today, nations will invest a fortune in identifying the most brilliant attackers and to finance core R&D in identifying zero-day vulnerabilities, harnessing them to breach, to hack, to create potential damage, and so forth. A lot of that data and knowledge that is gained by governments and nations will eventually leak to cybersecurity criminals, and we will see the effect of that core knowledge on our day-to-day life, even as consumers, definitely as civilian enterprises, and so forth.
What I want to now ask is this transition from entrepreneur to investor. So going from looking at one problem really deeply to now, expanding your reach and looking at a variety of problems and trying to figure out how they piece together with the industry of cybersecurity, not just your solution. Did you find that transition, difficult, easy? Did you have to change skill sets in order to do that?
So a big portion of my experience was definitely relevant because at the end of the day, when it comes to establishing a startup, not only the team needs to have a brilliant idea and a barrier to entry, but at the end of the day, the startup needs, especially in a very competing arena, the startup needs to execute and excel on the sales and revenue fronts. And this is an area where I have a lot of experience from choosing the right go-to-market for the startup, moving through establishing an effective sales operation, especially in the US. From that perspective, I definitely felt that the experience I have gained as a VP sales in the United States and in Europe, and later as CEO for at least 2 cybersecurity startups, was definitely relevant. But obviously, as an investor, there are additional considerations that you need to take that as an entrepreneur, you don't always think about. The financial aspects of the investment, the ability to almost guess, but it needs to be an educated guess out of tens and hundreds of startups, ambitious teams that you meet, who is going to be the winning team. This is something that definitely, an experience that we had to establish. So it is both a combination of past experience being entrepreneurs ourselves, but also gaining financial and investment skills along the way. And this is something that we touched on a little bit before we have established the fund by doing some angel investments before we have established the funds. But obviously throughout the year that we've been operating, this is something that we have gained and established quite well.
Right. And how do you then now, you look at a variety of, early stage companies, wanting to lead seed rounds, and you look at their technology with the cybersecurity industry. Are there any patterns that you're seeing that differentiate between the ones that you feel more comfortable partnering with rather than the ones that you're less comfortable partnering with?
Yeah, I mean, I believe that we've been experiencing a certain pattern along many teams of entrepreneurs because, on one hand, because of the amazing reputation of the cybersecurity industry in Israel, many veterans from 8200 and other technological units, they are very eager to establish a startup. However, it's very, very difficult to identify a brilliant idea, a real need, and a barrier to entry. So many teams will go through a process which is called an ideation, but very often they will come up with what we refer to as synthetic need. So something that from the outside may look lucrative, but when you dig under the hood, you find out that it doesn't represent a real need, an urgent need in the market. It is more of a wishful thinking, and this is something that we need to be really careful about, because we invest only in solutions that solves a real need, an immediate need that the market indeed needs. And many teams that we met, as explained, unfortunately, they come up with those synthetic needs compared to what we would like to invest in, an authentic need. Ideally, a need that was born throughout the real life experience of the entrepreneurs. So entrepreneurs that used to work for a commercial company, a cybersecurity company for several years, and from their experience and meeting with customers have identified a real need. This is something that we look for. Or alternatively, entrepreneurs that used to work for a cybersecurity consulting company, again, meeting with the customers, with clients, identifying a real need, then coming up with a brilliant technological solution with a great barrier to entry. This is something that will be attractive for us. So again, because of the fact that there is so much demand, so many teams would like to found and establish a cybersecurity startup, we need to, that's the phenomena that we often see.
And so then when you go into either do due diligence or think critically yourself about it, how do you hope to find real product market fit in the world of cybersecurity? A lot, like 99% of it, I'm guessing, is B2B. You're selling to enterprises. You're offering similar yet different yet similar solutions that exist. You have to do a lot of explanations, right? Because a lot of the times, even though you're selling to perhaps the security people in those companies, it's not it's not like you can send them to a landing page and they sit and look, oh yeah, okay, this looks like something I want to buy, right? It's not the same purchasing experience. So what are some struggles there, and what is the from your experience the right way to strategically go about finding that product market fit and whether it's there?
It's a very good question. So it's a combination of the following. First of all, we ourselves bring many years of experience working with real customers, Fortune 500 customers across the globe. For example, when I was working for Checkpoint, I was an executive sponsor for Citibank, just as an example. So obviously we bring a lot of intuition and experience from our own experience, from our own background and experience, coupled with the fact that our LPs, the investors of with our fund, are global leaders in the cybersecurity arena. Names like Shlomo Kramer, Miki Budai, Stuart McClure, and so forth. These are guys that when we feel that we have the need, we will consult with them, and we would expose the potential startups to them and look for their opinion. But I think that the most important part for us is the startup itself. So ideally, we would like to invest in post-revenue startups. So a startup that already gained 100,000, 200,000 worth of ARR. We are willing to pay the toll and invest in a higher valuation in such situation, because then we can really interview the customers that are using the product. And after 3-4 interviews, you can, when you ask the right questions, of course, verifying that the product is really used in the way that the entrepreneurs were planning it to be used. But if the startup is based on a PowerPoint presentation and a good idea, that doesn't deter us. We will ask and we will help the team to meet and present the solution to 10, 15, 20 potential customers, and then we will interview the customers. For us, again, it is very, very important to identify that it solves a real need, an immediate need, so not a futuristic need, and a significant gap, a significant risk that the startup is going to solve with a significant technological barrier to entry.
I love it. Nathan, toda rabba for all the insights, your generosity with your time. I really, really appreciate it. And I think that what you're doing with Hyperwise VC, spinning off of your longtime career as an entrepreneur, engineer, and now I learn legal, in the legal scene. But so before we leave, I really want to thank you for being generous with your time. I do have two really important questions. One of them is the 3 words that I always ask, but the other one, which is even more important, is what is your favorite Beatles song?
Probably the song by George Harrison, Here Comes the Sun. I think it is, at the end of the day, it's the most favorite Beatles song, even though it's very difficult to answer that question. It depends on the mood and how you wake up in the morning. But probably
It's like
Here
asking,
Comes the
do you
Sun.
like your mom or dad? It's the what I've been. I remember being in middle school, and I was a Beatles fanatic, and I would be listening to the Beatles from morning to night. I think I was the only middle schooler in Israel who was so obsessed with the Beatles. And what I think really was incredible to me was both the authenticity behind the sound. Speaking of cybersecurity, the authenticity behind the sound, but also the fact that for every mood, for every time of the day, there's one of 1,000 songs that you can choose
Correct.
from that'll be just right. Nathan, toda rabba, and now I need the 3 words.
So I think that 3 words that can describe me are, first of all, I'm very devoted to my family, to my friends and colleagues, but definitely to the entrepreneurs that we invest in. I'm a hard worker. I believe in hard working, and I'm very curious. I always like to learn new things, in whatever schools or arenas or philosophies.
I love that. Nathan, toda rabba. Stay
Thank you
safe and
very
stay
much.
healthy, and take care. Bye-bye.